She arrived in North Africa with nothing. No army. No land. No allies. Just a small group of refugees, a bag of gold, and one very important cow. Well, its skin, anyway. The local king offered her a deal: she could have as much land as a cow's hide could cover. He thought he was being generous. Technically. He was also being clever. She'd get a patch of dirt. She'd move on. Problem solved. She accepted. And then she cut the hide into strips so thin they could circle an entire hilltop. On that hilltop she built a citadel. On that citadel she built a city. That city was called Carthage. And for the next 600 years, it would be the greatest rival Rome ever faced. To understand Dido, you need to understand Phoenicia. Around 814 BC, Phoenicia was the trading capital of the world. A string of powerful city-states on the coast of the Mediterranean, Tyre, Sidon, Byblos, whose ships went everywhere and traded everything. The Phoenicians were not an empire. They didn't conquer. They traded. And in the ancient world, that made them the most connected people alive. The most powerful of these city-states was Tyre. And in Tyre, the king had just died. He left behind 2 children. A son named Pygmalion. A daughter named Elissa. History remembers her as Dido. Dido had married a man named Acerbus, a wealthy priest. Together they were one of the most powerful couples in Tyre. Which made her brother nervous. Pygmalion had taken the throne and immediately started consolidating power. He wanted Acerbus's wealth. He didn't want to ask for it. One night, Pygmalion had Acerbus murdered. Dido grieved. And then she planned. She gathered a small group, loyal nobles, servants, other Tyrians who were also scared of Pygmalion. She gathered as much of the treasury as she could carry. She organized ships. She even tricked her brother. She had servants load bags onto the ships in front of Pygmalion's spies, bags supposedly containing Acerbus's gold. The very treasure Pygmalion had killed for. The spies reported back. Pygmalion was satisfied. The bags were full of sand. The gold was hidden elsewhere on the ships. She sailed before he figured it out. Dido's small fleet stopped first at Cyprus, where a priest of Jupiter joined them, and 80 young women were taken aboard. Not kidnapped, they were volunteers. Women who had been dedicated to temple service and wanted a different life. Then they sailed south and west until they reached the coast of North Africa. What is today Tunisia? The local people, a North African people the ancient sources call the Libyans, came out to see what was happening. Their king was a man named Iarbas. And Iarbas made Dido an offer. You may have as much land as a bull's hide can cover. He meant it as a politely dismissive way to give her almost nothing. A hide is, what, 6, 7 square feet. Maybe enough for a tent. Dido said yes. She had the hide cut. Not into patches. Not divided up. Into one continuous spiral strip, cut as thin as possible, shaved to near thread width. That strip, laid end to end, was long enough to encircle the top of an entire hill overlooking the bay. Iarbas had specified a bull's hide. She'd used it. He'd just never specified what size the pieces needed to be. By the letter of their agreement, the hilltop was hers. She called it Byrsa. In Greek, the word means both citadel and hide. On Byrsa, she began building. The settlement grew fast. Dido had gold, trading expertise, and the backing of Phoenicia. Merchants came. Ships came. Settlers came. The city was called Carthage in Phoenician. The Romans called it Carthago. We call it Carthage. Within decades, Carthage was a major Mediterranean power. Within centuries, it was the capital of an empire. Dido's genius, the legal trick with the hide, the political discipline, the long escape from Tyre, set all of it in motion. She didn't live to see it all. Ancient sources say Iarbas eventually pressured her to marry him, threatening war if she refused. Rather than betray her dead husband's memory or surrender her city's independence, Dido built a funeral pyre in the city, climbed it, and took her own life. The city she had just finished building watched its founder burn. She'd been queen for less than a decade. The city she started lasted 700 years. The poet Virgil, writing 800 years later, was so moved by her story that he put her in the Aeneid, Rome's founding epic, as the tragic queen who loved Rome's ancestor and died when he left. Rome's greatest poem is partly a tribute to the woman who started their greatest enemy. She arrived with nothing and drew a border with a knife and a cow. That's Dido.